watching the It's Her Time podcast with Cody and Jess. Hi, welcome to the It's Her Time podcast. My name is Cody Sanders, and I'm a holistic health practitioner and functional nutritionist and the host of the show. Now, today's episode, I'm going to have a special guest joining me. Her name is Maria Marlowe. She's a fellow nutritionist, and we are going to talk about the skin, gut, and brain axis and how they are intricately connected. If you ever feel stress, if you're experiencing anxiety, if you're experiencing acne or other skin conditions, it all stems to inflammation, and all three of these organs, even though they seem like they're completely separate, they all work together and affect one another. And so we're going to dive into what this connection is and how important it is for us to understand what it is and how we can be empowered to take control of all of these three organs and our overall health so that we can reduce the inflammation and the acne and all the things that we're suffering with. So, but before we go into all of this great information, let's join Jess for a Mixers Girls Say.
We're ready for some more laughing together about holiday fails. You ready, Cody?
There's just so many great stories that you girls have shared that we want more. Let's go. It's so fun.
And I think it's so fun to share these because it makes us all realize, like we were talking about it, everyone has these funny holiday experiences that you're like, dang it, am I the only one that this happens to? And it's like, no. This is just...
Some of you have some experiences I've never experienced, but appreciate you sharing them because they're so funny.
It is so fun. Okay. These were Thanksgiving fails, but they're totally applicable, to the entire holiday season.
Yeah.
So, Shake Whittet, I think her name's Whit, says, thinking the turkey is cooking, checking if it's done, then realize the oven has been off the entire time.
Shoot. Yeah, I think we've been there.
The guests have started arriving. They're like, ding dong. You're like, I might need to run and check the turkey.
Yeah.
It's raw.
Oh,
poor thing. Turkeys are stressful.
I
never opt in for the meat.
No.
I don't cook it. I'm like, this is too high pressure.
I don't ever accept that assignment. No. I'll do every other dish. Yeah. I will cook it all, but the turkey, I'm too afraid.
Nope. Stabbed a hole in the metal turkey tray and caught the oven on fire.
Oh, because the drippings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yikes. You don't realize fire extinguisher in the kitchen.
You need one.
We need Thanksgiving and Christmas
I've needed
Eve.
one. So yeah, good tip there.
Okay. Tried to make a pie for the first time. Oh, it's like pies are intimidating too.
I know. There's a lot of pressure this time of year.
Yeah. I'm sure your pie was great. I would eat it for you.
Yes.
Okay. Tried to make pie for the first time, pulled it out of the oven, and just dropped it right on the floor.
Oh, it's heartbreaking. That's so
heartbreaking. See, where later you can laugh, but in the moment, you're probably like, I'm going to go to bed.
And cry and leave and nap.
And then you're like, jingle bells, jingle bells. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Didn't realize I had to thaw the rolls out first and just put them in the oven, and they were bricks after.
You just got to get a couple Thanksgivings or Christmases under your belt. Then you learn. But maybe one of you that's listening today, we're helping. We're going to, I must be good. Just can't talk.
Having a family member. These are just those times where it's like, the conversation also around a big holiday table, It is always kind of who's talking to who? Is someone telling the story to the whole table? Anyway, so this person wrote, it was terrible. Had a family member bring up their trauma during a happy dinner moment. It's like, how do you respond?
Yeah. It's not the time.
Oh.
Not the time.
Okay. Oh, there's another, put the turkey in the oven and forgot to turn the oven on. Then the last one, cooked the turkey with the packing still inside the bird.
Oh, yeah. Because you don't, who tells you? I mean, I guess you should read the instructions, but I'm like you. I'm not somebody that reads instructions. This is why I don't do turkeys.
I was going to end and I have to do one more.
The real last one.
My turn to cook something for dinner. And the in-laws said they'd rather cook themselves.
Rude.
Why? Here's the thing, too, is why say that?
No.
Why? Just eat eat the person's food that maybe isn't the best cook. Like it's a meal.
And then make your own
and
at
like
home.
what? Yes.
Don't take the leftovers.
Yes. Or take the leftovers and pretend you're like
and feed it to the neighbor's cat, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the solution. Oh, we relate.
Yes, we
get
do.
It.
Probably too much.
We should. Yeah. This is great. Thanks for listening. Now, Cody will take it away with an episode. Mixers is a company made for women by women. Each of our products have been carefully and lovingly crafted to support you in all stages of your life, providing you with the optimal health you deserve. Each ingredient we handpick is 100% all natural, backed by science, and chosen specifically to better your life physically, mentally, and hormonally. Each product empowers your body to take charge of its monthly hormonal shift and flows, empowering you to live life to the fullest. Let Mixers take care of your needs from sunup to sundown, and you take care of the rest. Check us out at mixers.com, MIXHERS.
All right, everybody. Like I said, we have a special guest, Maria Marlowe. And today I am so excited for you to learn from her. She is a wealth of knowledge. And we've just been talking before this episode began about how we both studied at the same institution for nutrition and how fun it is to like follow each other's paths and see kind of where the education that we got has helped, so many people and in so many ways and helped us to be able to build different businesses. And, so it's so great. So say hi to our audience, Maria. Tell us a little bit about you and what you're feeling so passionate about.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you, Cody, for having me on. Hello, everyone. I am excited to be here and chat all things gut-skin connection. So I got here from my own skin issues, actually. I had really bad acne for about 5 years, despite trying all the things from drugstore topicals to prescription medications. And for 5 years, the acne just kept coming back, or it never left to begin with. Yeah. And so I eventually, first I got really discouraged, and I honestly thought something was wrong with me because I was doing everything I was told to do and nothing was working.
Right.
But then I was introduced to this concept of food as medicine, which, to be honest, I thought was crazy and was like a little too hippy dippy woo woo for me at the time.
Yeah.
But I was so desperate and willing to try anything that I was like, okay, let me give this a try. So I drastically overhauled my diet. I worked on repairing my gut health because my gut was a mess from taking antibiotics, not just for acne, but also as a child, I was on antibiotics. It seemed like every month practically for some other infection.
Yeah.
And so, I took 3 months to focus on completely cleaning up my diet, repairing my gut, and my skin cleared up in 3 months after 5 years. So
isn't it amazing?
I was just like, it's crazy. To be honest, I didn't even think, I literally thought that it was like a miracle from heaven had come down on me. I was like, there's no way it's the food. So I went back. I was like, it must have just been a coincidence. God has finally answered my prayers.
Yeah.
And then I started eating the pizza and the soda and the cookies and like all the stuff I was eating before. And of course, my skin broke out again. So it was actually the second time where I was like, oh, okay, I get it. It is actually the food. And then that is what set me off on this journey to learn more about nutrition and cooking and food. And the rest is history.
I love it. And I feel like so many of our listeners are relating absolutely with everything that you're sharing. In fact, my business partner, Jess, that's what you've been finally brought her to see me and how that started Mixers was because, we'll start feeling some of the symptoms that are uncomfortable, like the gut stuff that's going on, or even like anxiety or, depression or things like that. But when it finally like shows itself on our skin, whether that is acne, like what you've experienced, or whether that's some kind of a like eczema or psoriasis or something, that's what finally I feel like is the last straw for so many people because it's visible, you're not the one that's just only feeling it. Now it's visible and everybody is aware that there's something going on. And I love the fact too that you brought up that there's just so much going on that we don't even think is going to have an effect on us. For instance, the antibiotic use in our childhood, and then just as an approach to help with acne, a lot of people are prescribed antibiotics, thinking that it can heal. It cannot heal. It can clear the skin, but it's actually like exacerbating the issue, right?
In the long run, right? Yeah,
Yes.
it tends to work while you're on it, but within a couple of years, like 1 to 2 years, it often returns with a vengeance, as was my case and the case for a lot of people. And that's why it's kind of like the first line of defense. And then there's this whole totem pole of other acne medications that people end up on after antibiotics didn't work for them.
Right. Right. It's so true. So, but I love always teaching all of our, audience about how to actually address the root causes of why. So why are you having acne? It's not an antibiotic deficiency. Like we're not deficient in antibiotics. And so that's where this conversation is going to go. We're going to understand exactly what the connection is between our skin, our gut, and even our brain. We're going to connect that as well. It's an axis that is something that's very intricately connected. And we're going to talk about what we can do before we get to the point where we're in such a serious state that we are going to a doctor to get a prescription that's then going to, continue the whole problem. So let's dive into a little bit, like, what is the science behind all of this with this whole connection, this whole axis?
Yeah. Well, first, I just want to add on to one thing that you said, and that it's that like acne is not an antibiotic deficiency. Also, surprisingly, it's not a bacterial infection as most people think. I mean, that's what I was always taught when I was growing up. That was on all the teen magazines and celebrity magazines. It always talked about acne causing bacteria and how we had to attack the bacteria and either scrub it off our face or, take either topical antibiotics or internal antibiotics to kill this bacteria. And, us it's in a kind of like, it makes us feel like we can do something, right? Like we're like, okay, we're going to kill this bacteria.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, it just, for whatever reason, we like it, like attacking things like that. I don't know. It makes us feel good in some way.
Very
scrub
powerful.
It away.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But it's actually not the case. So since the 1980s, research has shown that it's not actually bacteria that's causing acne, it's inflammation.
Yeah.
So right now, if you were to look up the definition of acne, it's classified as a chronic inflammatory skin disorder. It's not a bacterial infection. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So since the 1980s, that's when the research started pointing to inflammation. And it wasn't actually until the early 2010s when that classification was changed from bacterial infection to chronic inflammatory disorder. And this was a very monumental paradigm shift in the way that we understood acne. And it should have led to a paradigm shift in the way that we address acne, but it didn't. We're still treating acne like the 1950s when the available science at the time said it was a bacterial infection, right? That's why we started using antibiotics. And so I think, that's just a really important point to drive home. Bacteria may play some role in acne, but it's not the first domino. Inflammation is the first domino. And what we know is that you can have acne without having the C. acnes, it used to be called P. acnes bacteria on your skin.
Right.
We also know that this particular bacteria, which used to be like a bad bacteria, actually a commensal bacteria, and it's found on clear, healthy skin in equal amounts as those with acne. And what happens in acne is something is causing that bacteria to go rogue, right? And kind of like turn against us. And what is that? It's most likely the inflammation that's causing that turn. So that's really important.
So important. And I'm so glad you brought up that, because I think that is how, it's something that was stated so long ago, but it has stuck around and it's still the approach. And so that right there was such a good foundational piece of information that I think is so helpful for people to understand. It's not that we're trying to kill the bacteria. And I would say too, just to add to that, and we'll get into, I'm sure, more in this conversation because it's fun. I would actually say that it's not the bacteria that we're trying to kill and that's what's causing the acne. It's that there is a lack of bacteria that's on the skin to help balance the bad bacteria as well. So yes, bacteria is part of all of this, but it is not the root cause.
Exactly. And the last thing I'll add to this little conversation to tie it in a bow, the reason in retrospect why some antibiotics do work, when you have acne in terms of clearing acne while you're taking it, is because the class of antibiotics that's used for acne also has anti-inflammatory properties.
There you go.
So it's really the anti-inflammatory properties that are delivering the benefit more so than the antimicrobial.
Yeah.
So on that note,
good bow. That was a beautiful bow that you just tied right there. So good. So let's dive into inflammation then, because I think that if we're going to address the root cause of acne and other skin disorders, why? Where is this inflammation coming from? What can we do about it? But let's first talk about like, what is this? What's causing the inflammation? Where is it inflamed? And why is it now showing up on our skin?
Yeah, well, inflammation is primarily coming from our diet and lifestyle. And we actually have a lot more control over it than I think we realize. And the reason that it's primarily coming from our diet and lifestyle is because of this gut-brain-skin connection that we talked about or touched on earlier. So let me break that down.
Okay.
So the gut-brain-skin connection, what this is these three organs have essentially a two-way highway between them where they're constantly in communication, and what's happening in one of these organs is affecting the others.
Right.
And so in the case of acne in particular, let me give you some examples of how this works.
Beautiful.
So what research has shown is that negative thoughts, which are stemming from your brain, right? So sadness, worry, fear, doubt, these negative thoughts can actually disrupt the gut microbiome. They can wipe out some of the good bacteria in the gut. And as a result of that, that can create inflammation as some of the more opportunistic bacteria can proliferate in absence of those good bacteria.
Right.
That creates inflammation in the gut. But the whole body, the gut is connected to the rest of the body. So
everything's connected, right? But I love how you're piecing this together. So yes, continue.
Yeah, so everything's connected. So the inflammation is not just staying locally, it's also becoming systemic.
Right.
And we know now that the root cause of many chronic illnesses and diseases is this chronic systemic body-wide inflammation. And that is the case with acne as well. So the inflammation is really starting in the gut, but then it's showing up in our skin as inflammation of the skin. And if you look at what acne is, right, it's inflammation. It's a red, raised bump.
Right.
So that is the case. And then, of course, so stress can disrupt our gut and create inflammation, but also our diet. So certain foods, if you have any food sensitivities, or if you're eating any foods that promote inflammation, so like a lot of sugar, refined carbohydrates, gluten can be inflammatory. All of these things can disrupt the gut microbiome, creating, leaky gut,
right.
And just disrupting that gut microbiome to create inflammation. And then again, your skin is ultimately going to break out and suffer as a result.
That's so true. And acne and all of these things are a symptom. And remember, girls, like anytime we are feeling symptoms, it's just our body trying to communicate with us. And so that is what acne is. Whenever we're seeing something on our skin, it's almost an insider. You can see now like what it looks like in your body. So that's that inflammation. And then it is cyclical. So you start out like what Maria is explaining, you start out with some anxious thoughts or stressful thoughts that affects your gut. Now you can feel this. You have felt this in your body. That's when you get those butterflies, those feelings of anxiety, you feel it in your gut. And then it's going to circle back to the brain because like she was mentioning, it disrupts our healthy gut microbiome and it allows the bad bacteria to proliferate. And then that is going to cause what's known as leaky gut, which is then going to allow undigestible food substances to go into the bloodstream, which is then going to put our body into an autoimmune state that is then going right back to the brain. So if you are a girl that is suffering not just with acne, but if you're dealing with mood disorders or things like that, just know that it's always important for us to address inflammation. And that can begin with taking care of our gut, right?
Very well said. Yes, very well said.
You said it. I'm just tying the bow this time. Yeah.
And, very interestingly, but not surprisingly, a lot of times people with acne also have depression and have mood disorders. And, some may say, oh, it's because of their skin looks a certain way. And yes, to an extent, because it's upsetting. I've been there.
Right.
But
it causes
also,
stress.
Yeah.
Yes.
But also
Cyclical.
It's like, if our gut microbiome is disrupted, that could also be contributing it. And even nutrient deficiencies, there's a number of nutrient deficiencies that are associated with acne, like vitamin A, zinc, and omega-3. And omega-3 in particular, this is a very common one. This is a common deficiency, not just amongst acne patients, but also with depression and mood disorders. So sometimes, there is also a nutritional component and also a gut component to this. And then simply adding in healthy, whole foods, nutrient-dense foods that are keeping your blood sugar stable and giving your body what it needs, that can actually help to alleviate more than just your acne.
It's so true. And that's what I think is so empowering to understand, is that there is so much we can do. And even though it sounds woo-woo and too good to be true, that food is medicine, food's what provides those crucial nutrients that absolutely our bodies depend on in order to thrive. And so I love that you're talking about some specific nutrients that are often something that most women are deficient in, especially if you're living in this modern time dealing with stress. I mean, all of us are dealing with stress. So our body can burn through some of these nutrients at a higher rate. And we're just not getting these nutrients in the food that we're eating at the levels that we need to. And so that's where supplementation can come in, really help, as a helpful tool as an addition to a healthy whole foods diet. That's something that we definitely should be looking into. So thank you for mentioning that. I know that it's become something that people are familiar with. You've already talked about the vitamin A, the zinc. You've talked about how important it is to get omega-3s. But there's other supplements that I think that we all think that's the first go-to whenever we think we need to support gut health, and that's probiotics, right?
Yes, probiotics are incredibly important, not just for our gut health, but for our skin health as well. And what the research shows is that certain probiotic strains can actually deliver certain skin health benefits for any sort of inflammatory skin condition. So, researchers have looked at acne, they've looked at psoriasis, rosacea, eczema, and the research is kind of promising and it's very interesting. So I'm obsessed with probiotics. Probiotics really helped me personally in my own journey of healing my gut and my skin. And so I actually created a probiotic called Glow Biome that's specifically for acne-prone skin, which has these 6 clinically validated strains that are going to support that gut-skin connection. Probiotics, like certain strains, like L. rhamnosus SP1 is a strain that has been shown to improve adult acne in 12 weeks just on its own, which is incredible, which is in Glow Biome.
Yep.
There are a few strains like L. pericaceae and L. acidophilus, which can actually increase skin hydration, which again is crazy because we're thinking, we only have to put moisturizer on, but no, healing your gut and sealing your gut can actually help to seal your skin in a way and improve skin hydration.
Yes. Can I add to that real quick?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yes. The reason is because we are familiar with leaky gut, but there's actually a new term that's called leaky skin. And it is that dryness, and dryness is a symptom. And so, putting all of the creams and stuff can help. But again, looking at the root cause of why we're dealing with drier skin or cracked skin or inflamed skin, it's coming back to a lot of this, like maybe a deficiency in these different strains of probiotics that Maria is talking about.
Exactly. It could be a deficiency in probiotics, or having some gut dysbiosis. Could also, again, that omega-3. Omega-3 is such a superfood, it's such a super nutrient, I should say. Sometimes skin dryness, if you're like putting on all this moisturizer, skin's just dry, no matter what you do, you may be lacking certain nutrients. So omega-3 is a common one. It helps to support the skin cell membrane and helps your skin cells to retain moisture better. And if you don't have enough, your skin's a bit more leaky. So more can evaporate out of your skin, resulting in skin dryness. So no matter what the skin concern, I feel like you got to look internally.
You always do it. It always comes in. That's why we are nutritionists, because it's like nutrition really does control a lot of the things that we are suffering with. And so I'm just going to add, like you've already mentioned too, though, but vitamin A, or zinc is also, these are key nutrients that have a huge connection to the health of our skin and our body's ability to be able to heal the skin and to be able to help support cell turnover and things like that. And so, so not just our gut, but again, gut and skin, very connected, very much affected by these nutrients in similar ways as well.
Exactly.
Well, I love that you have these probiotics, and I'm going to definitely put all the ways that the girls can go and connect with you and the amazing things that you're putting out into the world. I'm also going to throw in there too, we have a product that's called Her Digest. It does have Bacillus coagulans that are in it. That's a strain of bacteria that's very hardy. It's known to be able to survive the whole process and be able to effectively get to the small intestines where it can repopulate and do its thing. But We also have in the supplement some prebiotics. So it's that important food that helps to support the probiotics so that they can thrive and repopulate. Probiotics, if you girls are like, what the heck? I think you all know, but those are the good bacteria that we want in our body. And it has such a huge effect. We not only have good bacteria or bacteria that lives in our gut, but also in our skin. And so putting these good bacteria into our body is going to help support our overall health in so many different ways, but specifically, with what we're talking about today. And so giving your body the probiotics is so important, but also helping to make sure that the environment that these probiotics are living in is a good, environment that they just want to thrive and repopulate and all the things. So yeah, absolutely. So important to know. I love that tip. So I love it. So we've talked about a couple tips. So we've talked about how important it is for us to add more of the nourishing foods into our diet and how that's going to provide a lot of these nutrients that we've mentioned. And then we've also talked about how it's important now to also remove some of those like gut disruptive or gut damaging types of foods that can cause inflammation in the gut. And we've talked about taking a probiotic. I mean, we've covered about a lot of tips, but we've kind of been all over. I just want to make sure our listeners are following along. But I know that there's some other really important things that we can do, strategies, actionable steps that our audience can take from this conversation today and absolutely start implementing it right away. So let's go into some of these other tips that we have.
Yeah, certainly. So in addition to those three things, I would say another really helpful thing to try doing is to adding digestive bitters into your diet. So you can do that through something called digestive bitters, which is kind of like a supplement. It's like a liquid supplement, or through adding bitter foods. So arugula, radicchio, dandelion greens, those really bitter greens. Mm-hmm. And what those are going to do, if you have those before a meal, or, at the start of your meal, then they're going to help your body with digestion and help your body to produce the digestive juices that are needed to break down your food better. And the result is you're going to, if you digest better, you're less likely to bloat or feel uncomfortable or heavy after a meal. And you're going to absorb more of the nutrients because your body's digesting them better.
So important.
It's so important because sometimes you could be eating the nutrients, but you're not absorbing them. So that's actually the problem. So yeah, digestive bitters, that's another tip to really support your gut-skin connection and your overall digestion. Another thing, I also like L-glutamine. Mm-hmm. This is really good for the gut lining. Yes. Or really collagen, like bone broth or fish skin is a really great source of collagen. Licorice. All of these foods are going to support your gut lining. So leaky gut is a pretty common occurrence because certain foods can cause it, but also stress can cause it. And we're all pretty stressed, myself included.
I always laugh because I'm like, there's not an episode that I can do that we're not talking about the effects of stress. No, seriously, it's so true. So true. It affects everything. So true.
Yeah. So we have to I feel like constantly be supporting our gut in, various ways to kind of combat modern life. So any gut lining supportive foods I think will be beneficial.
Yes.
And then some more just kind of lifestyle or practical tips. Make sure you chew your food well. Sometimes we're just in such a rush because we're doing emails, we're at our computer, we're watching TV, we're doing this, we're driving, we're doing a million and one things aside from just eating. So I really like to encourage people to, number one, chew your food really well until it's actually like liquidy mush. Mm-hmm. And then secondly, don't do anything else when you're eating. Don't watch your phone.
Remove the distractions. It's so
Remove
true.
the distractions.
Yeah. Well, I always say that there's no more teeth once the food leaves the mouth to chew it up. And so when we're eating or swallowing these big, swallows full of unchewed food, which if you start paying attention today when you're eating your meals, I guarantee you're swallowing some whole, pieces of food. You maybe have broken it down somewhat, but then once it goes into the stomach and everything, it's really hard for our body to fully break it down at that point. It's the whole digestive system is really starting in the mouth and with the teeth. And it's so important to break down that food to help with overall digestive health. And so I love that you have that as a tip. And I think that's something that, we're all guilty of. I am too. But the whole thing of chew 30 times before you swallow, I don't know if we all want to be sitting around, counting our bites.
Right.
But if you can really pay attention to the consistency of what it is that you're eating before you swallow, your gut is going to thank you.
Yeah. And I think as long as we're, if we're just eating or maybe, talking to someone across the table, like it's easy to chew a little bit more. Whereas when we're so distracted, that's when we're just basically like throwing the food in and swallowing without the chewing.
Just inhaling it. Yes.
Inhaling the food. Yeah. And I've been guilty of that for sure.
Me too.
We all have. But there's a really fun little exercise you could do with an almond. Like take an almond. I'm sure you know this from my end. Take an almond and chew the almond like 30 times. And you're going to see when you first put the almond into your mouth, like it tastes like one thing, but the more you chew it, the flavor of the almond actually becomes a lot more intense. So you unlock more flavor the longer you chew. So it's just kind of like a good reminder to like really break down and like slow down and just chew a little bit more.
It's such a good tip. And, there was a study that was done. Now I'm sure you'll probably remember because I'm sure we learned about it together at IIN, but there was a study that was done where these people swallowed a camera, which is so cool that we have this kind of science that we can look at this. I geek out on stuff like this. And they had a couple different groups that one was, they were both eating like a ramen noodle packet. Okay. And then they drank Gatorade, and they had some of the group, one of the groups that spent the 30 bites or the 30 chews before they swallowed. And then they had the other group just, eat normal. There was nothing that they were supposed to be thinking about or doing or whatever at the time. They just ate like they normally do. Well, the camera, it was so interesting. First of all, there's a lot more to this story than what I'm going to share today, but they could see like the teeth marks in the ramen. So first of all, that is crazy because it just shows that like our body doesn't recognize what's in the ramen and all of that stuff. And it was dyed blue, and it just like was going through the digestive tract unchewed, like for the one of the groups that wasn't actually doing the thoughtful chewing. And then the other group, it was just, and kind of ended up being more mush, and it was a little easier to digest. So even though both were like not nutritious, not at all, these groups were not receiving any nutritional, benefits, but it was incredible to see how it affected the whole digestive process. And so the fact that you could actually see the teeth marks, that's what's going on. If we're not chewing our food, we're not getting it broken down enough for our body to really know what it's doing. And it's going to cause inflammation in the gut. It's going to do all the things that we've just talked about, kind of create that whole cascade of events. So,
and just digestive issues. I think, so many people struggle with digestive issues, whether it's bloating or just not feeling well. Like sometimes people will say, oh, I have like a brick in my stomach after I eat and things like that, like the uncomfortable feeling. It's starting with issues with digestion, right? Mm-hmm. So if you can kind of figure out what is inhibiting your digestion, then, you're going to feel a lot better.
Yes. And it's just as simple as that. Like, I know it sounds too good to be true, but chewing your food, so important. I love, love, love that. So, okay. All right. Is there anything else that we can do to help with this whole process?
Yeah. I mean, I think the one really, really big thing, again, which I think is especially important today, like in the social media, 24/7 news world, is finding things that help you deal with stress and doing them every single day. So whether that's meditation or yoga or exercise, time in nature, actually just spending time in nature. This is interesting. Studies have shown simply sitting in like a green area, could be like a city park, just that has grass and trees, can actually lower your stress hormone cortisol. And I think it's just 20 minutes that you need to be sitting there.
Yeah.
So, something as simple as that, going to take your lunch break and just sit in the park, something like that can help lower your stress. There's so many different modalities, breath work, sound healing, so many fun things to try. So building some of those things into your day-to-day life to kind of keep your stress levels low. And then secondly, also working on your mindset, which is a harder pill to swallow. Like this one's definitely a little tougher that I think there's more resistance around, but it is so life-changing when you get control of your thoughts and you don't allow like the little, the voices in your head to control you and like, make you kind of unhappy, like you can train yourself to look for the positive, train yourself to look for the silver linings, train yourself to be grateful for things. And when you have that different mindset, life is a lot easier and better. Not like your circumstances can be exactly the same, but all of a sudden your life becomes better. So there's a really great book. It's called Loving What Is by Byron Katie. Have you read it?
Yes, I have. I love it. And I highly recommend it. Yeah. Yes.
It's amazing because I feel like it changes your mindset in terms of like what you allow to stress you out. Because, sometimes like some of us just let everything stress us out. Like the little simplest things stress us out and it's just hurting us, And so if we can get to a place where the little things don't stress us out and even the bigger things don't really affect us so negatively anymore, we're going to be in a much better place.
So important. And we can't state it enough. I know that, I'm always talking about this, but that's why I love it when you girls can hear from other experts like Maria, that this is key. Like, I know it sounds crazy to be like, hey, we're going to try to reduce stress. We're going to do some deep breathing, meditate every single day, chew your food. These kinds of things I know sound like they're too good to be true to have much of an impact, but they are everything. When we take our time when we're eating and we're chewing our food, what that's also allowing, the reason that that's important more than just breaking down the food to a good level before we start sending it down on its way along the journey of digestion, is to also, it helps us to get breathing regulated. We're breathing between bites instead of just like trying to inhale the food. That's like why we call it inhaling food, is because we're not like actually taking in the air that we should be. And that full inhale and exhales are not happening. We're just shoving our faces full of this food and forgetting the important part of breathing. Breathing has a huge impact on our body's ability to digest as well. It's going to have a huge effect on how our body is going to respond to the unavoidable stress that is going to be around us all the time. And so doing these types of things are medicine. This is medicine. And that's what's so incredible. Our bodies are amazing. Our bodies know what to do when we do the things that help to support our body's own natural function. So I love it. It can't be said enough. It's super powerful. I hope today that you girls are going to think about these things and recognize that these simple little loving acts that you do are going to have a huge impact on how you feel, physically, but also emotionally as well, mentally and emotionally as well. So yeah, Maria, anything else you want to share with our audience today? I think that today's conversation was so enlightening and so helpful and so fun. So thank you. But anything else that you have to share?
Yeah, the last thing I will say, and again, you kind of said this before as well, is that acne and any other skin condition or really any other condition, it's really a blessing in disguise. And I know it doesn't seem that way when you're going through it, but it is, because it's helping you to look within and to perhaps be more motivated to develop a healthier diet and lifestyle. And it's not only going to help your skin, it's going to help everything, your immune system, your mood, your, metabolism, like literally everything is going to get better when you embark on a healthier diet and lifestyle. So it's really, I know it's tough now, but it's a blessing in disguise, and see if you can look for that silver lining.
Yeah, I love that. So empowering. And it's so important to be able to remember that there is a lot that we can do, that there's a lot of power in our hands. And so thank you for sharing all of that. I will share with you girls, I'm going to put the link for Maria's probiotic that she has. I'm going to highly recommend also that if you are experiencing acne, you're experiencing anything like anxiety or anything like that, any kind of symptom, like we've just mentioned, Her Digest is something that you would definitely want to get your hands on. It has the probiotics, prebiotics, as well as L-glutamine and licorice root and other amazing ingredients that help to support the integrity of our gut lining, helps to reduce inflammation. I'll also mention that Her Greens, because I'm mentioning this because you girls always ask after I do these podcasts, what supplements are going to work? Her Greens has these digestive enzymes. It also has those bitters that aren't always the yummiest to eat, that we're not always good about making sure that we're including in our diet every single day. Now, with that being said, supplements are to be used as a tool. I still want you to chew your greens. I want you to get those greens into your diet. You need the fiber as well. But this is a good little, insurance policy. Getting these nutrients into your body through supplements is going to be very helpful for you as well. So, hey, with that, I hope everybody is having an awesome day. And we always love and appreciate when you guys come and join us and spend some of your time with these kinds of conversations. These conversations are things that can help to really help improve the quality of our life. And so if you enjoyed this episode today, we encourage you to please share it with the girls in your life because sharing is caring. Connect with Maria. I'm going to put all of the links, like I said, in the show notes. She is a wealth of knowledge. She's very fun. She's on social media. She's on many different places. Maria, why don't you share some of the ways that our girls can connect with you?
Sure. So I am on Instagram at Maria Marlowe, and Marlowe is Marlowe. I'm also on TikTok at Glow by Marlowe and YouTube. And my website has a ton of healthy recipes. It's mariamarlowe.com.
So helpful. So great. So I know that these girls are going to be rushing over there and connecting with you. So thank you for sharing all of your wisdom and all of this great information. It's so helpful. We feel very empowered. All right. Well, until next week, I hope you girls have a very healthy and happy week, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.